You're listening to the Bulldog Insider Podcast, brought to you by Essentia Health.
It only takes one step, twist, or crunch to know something doesn't feel right. Essentia Health's orthopedic and sports medicine team gets you back to doing what you love with commitment, resilience, intention. We're here to keep you moving forward. Visit essentiahealth.org to learn more about orthopedics and sports medicine, like nowhere else.
Hello and welcome to the Bulldog Insider Podcast, brought to you by Essentia Health. I'm your host, Matt Wellens, the Bulldogs hockey beat reporter at the Duluth News Tribune.
And I'm Zach Schneider, the UMD hockey television play-by-play announcer on My Nine Sports.
You don't want to use voice of UMD hockey? Don't want to
Forgot what I usually say, to be honest with you.
Oh, I thought you didn't want to upset that other guy.
I came very unprepared for the start of this episode.
Right.
I pulled it off, though.
This week on the podcast, we have a player who went from wearing a letter at Penn State a year ago, so earning a letter after just 5 games at UMD back in late October. That has to be a record. I never actually looked that up, speaking of unprepared, but I can't think of anyone else who, after 5 games, got promoted to captain in their time at any hockey team. Welcome to the podcast, men's 5th-year senior wing and assistant captain, Connor McMenamin. Welcome, Connor.
Thank you for having me.
So quick bio on Connor, native of Collegeville, Pennsylvania, not to be confused with State College.
Correct.
Which is where Penn State is located. You played 4 seasons for the Nittany Lions before graduating and transferring to UMD. And what did you graduate again? What was your degree in?
Finance. Yeah.
Finance.
Yep.
I knew it was one of those business, money, something dealing with money. As everyone knows, I'm great with majors on this podcast. And what are you doing now? What's your graduate program here at UMD?
So it's Masters of Professional Studies. I'm in it with Quinn Olson, and we take, it's a 2-year program. So we're doing, I believe, 2 classes a semester. And yeah, it's kind of nice as a major because you can, there's not prescribed classes that you have to take. There's a couple, but you can kind of free will yourself and go, explore what you like to take in any other graduate class with permission. So it's nice.
It's a build your own master's program,
essentially.
Basically, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Are you staying focused in the finance world, or are you trying to branch out a little bit?
I branched out a little bit this semester, but I think next semester I'm gonna redial in my knowledge for the finance world and get back into it.
So we mentioned Collegeville. That's just outside Philadelphia. Like, how far outside Philadelphia?
We are about 25 minutes northwest of Philly.
Okay. I've spent a ridiculous amount of time because of this beat in Pennsylvania over the last few years, but like all over the state, from Erie to we were in State College for the Frozen Four. Yep. Clint Austin and I flew into Philadelphia to get to State College. Where else have I been? I was in Pittsburgh for a Frozen Four. I almost forgot about that. Only place I haven't been is Scranton, which would be fun just because I like The Office. But Collegeville, how does that compare to State College? I've been to State College. That's a pretty cool, fun college town. How does Collegeville? How do those 2 cities compare?
Collegeville's just, they're both similar towns, I'd say. State College is dead in the summers and a lot of people there in the winters for school. So, but Collegeville, I'd say, is probably a lot bigger just because you have cities around and. But yeah, they're two in the same, but also a little bit different at the same time.
So State College, that's like a true college town, like everything. Like a couple weeks, you guys are going to Oxford, Ohio for Miami University.
Yep.
Zach, you've been there. We've been there on winter breaks before, and there's like no one in town or anything like that. State College is pretty dead in the summer.
Yeah, I think a lot of student athletes stay in the summer. Especially freshmen, but other than that, it's no students are there.
Do you like that or not?
A lot of us would stay in the summer. It was nice. There's no lines anywhere.
Does stuff stay open? Because in Oxford, a lot of it, at least over their winter break, closes down.
Yeah, so you had, like, a lot of it did, but you'd have to go away from, like, the downtown area to, like, if you wanted Chipotle, like, the downtown one was closed. You had to drive out of town and go get it from somewhere else. But it was nice because, like I said, there's no lines. Usually when you're somewhere at that place with 50,000 students, you're waiting for everything. So the summers were nice.
I was going to say Marquette, Michigan. I went to Northern Michigan University, and Marquette was a little like that when I was there. The students would leave, the town would quiet down a little bit. Then it became a tourist destination. Everyone figured out the nice Lake Superior beaches on the few summers, then like the 2 weeks out of the year that it was warm in the UP. What's the transition been like? You mentioned 50,000 students at Penn State. What's the transition been like going from a school like that to a school like UMD, which I hate to call small, but compared to Penn State, it's a smaller school.
Yeah, it's a little different, obviously. So my one class I take is online on Zoom. Obviously from COVID, everything's still kind of like that for some reason. And then my other class meets once a month. So it's kind of
That's a great class schedule.
Yeah,
that class schedule, I might have stayed in college and went and got a master's.
It's an independent study class for the master's program. But so I have been on campus 3 times. I'm actually going for my 4th today, but yeah, it's been good. The only thing really different is everything's connected here in Duluth with tunnels and stuff like that for the winter. So, but you don't really notice. I never really had any lectures with 500 students or anything like that. So, don't really notice a difference.
How do the cities compare? Because I mean, there's still a lot of people in Duluth who might consider it somewhat of at least of a college town. We got UMD, we've got St. Scholastica and UWS as well, but there's still a big workforce here. The tourism is evident and obvious in Duluth, maybe not so much in a state college, but we don't have the influx of students like a true college town like Penn State. So how have the cities compared in your experience?
Yeah, I'd say state college is like it's like a town. Like that's how I'd describe it. It's not even remotely close to big enough for a city. And like I said, in the summer times when there's no students there, it is dead. It's it goes from 100,000 people there to quickly 40. Like it's crazy. So here, like I actually like it because it feels like you got your school all the way up on top of the hill, and then to get to the rink, like you're going down through the city. So I like the feel. It feels more professional. Obviously with this being a blue collar town, fits right in with the Bulldog Proto and Coach Sandel. And so, but yeah, I'd say that's the biggest difference. Is just like this is an actual city. Like Duluth has, like you said, the workforce, and State College obviously has the workforce, but there's no like city there. It's just there's a little downtown area with the buildings are just apartment buildings. That's it. And then you have the campus, and then outside of that, it's just like the suburbs or anywhere else. What
stood out to me when the women were there for the Frozen Four a few years ago, and this is still like pandemic. It was still a pandemic Frozen Four. Somewhat. I know a lot of UMD fans didn't get to go out to State College because it's not an easy place to get to. Like what stood out, we flew into Philadelphia, and part of that was we thought UMD was going to end up in an Eastern Regional, and Clint and I were going to go right from Pennsylvania, I think, or from State College. We were hoping actually for Allentown. Instead, they ended up in Colorado. But we flew into Philadelphia and then had to drive to State College, and you're kind of driving through nothing, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, after driving through I hate to call them mountains. It's kind of mountainous, hilly.
Hills, yeah.
Very large hills. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful drive. But out of nowhere appears this college town. Like, does Duluth, I think some people would probably say that about Duluth. Like, you talk to people from the Twin Cities, they'll be like, driving through nowhere, and then Duluth appears out of anywhere. Like, which city, or as you say, town, which town kind of feels more remote, or which one feels more connected to the rest of the world?
I would definitely say Duluth feels more connected to the world, just because, like you said, the workforce, and, obviously State College has a workforce too, but it's mostly all just faculty at the school. And so you get, I don't know how else to say it, actual people here in the real world, the workforce, not in fantasy land, as I like to call college, but so yeah, this one definitely feels more connected.
Did you enjoy that during your 4 years, though, that it was just kind of this bubble in which you were going to college with all your classmates and your teammates and your friends. I spent a semester at the start of my college career out at North Dakota State in Fargo. And I thought at the time this would be not a bad place to live as like a young professional after you graduate, because the city was so big and it was up and coming at that time. But for college, it didn't feel like it was that kind of place. But for Penn State, it almost feels like the opposite. Like it's a great place to go to college, and then once you're done with college, it's probably time to go to somewhere else.
Yeah, no, exactly right. I don't think I'd want to start a family there or anything like that, but like to go back and visit or whatever for a tailgate like that is the place to go. And like you said, like the college atmosphere there is crazy. It's a lot of fun.
So you and I have talked about that. We've written about it, but I want to hear for the podcast listeners who maybe didn't read this story or forgot about this story we wrote back in April. Why did you choose UMD? And to tease it here, you have ties to Minnesota. You played at Shattuck, and you already knew Ryan and Scott Sandelin long before this process. So take us through this whole process of how you ended up going from Penn State to UMD.
Yeah, after our season ended, I just kind of thought I needed a new start. Felt kind of stagnant in my development, and entered the transfer portal. And while that was a tough decision, I got a lot of phone calls from different coaches once I was in there, and I think the one that stuck out to me the most was Coach Sandelin's. If you look at who he's put in the professional ranks, I believe he's got more free agents in the NHL than anyone else in college hockey, or he's put more people there. And
a lot of those guys are free agents. When you look at some of the top guys in there right now, Alex Iafallo, Neil Pionk, the Winnipeg Jets,
right?
Minus Dylan Sandberg there. Yeah, there's a lot of free agents that get deals here.
Yeah, and I just I believed in what he's done with Duluth. Like I said, I played at Shattuck, so I used to play tournaments up here. I think I played up here like 9 times in the deck, I want to say. Whenever
in the old like deck arena.
Yep, whenever they put that ice in. So I've obviously visited here a lot on unofficial visits, and I fell in love with it, and the timing never worked out. And when I got an offer to play at Penn State, it's hometown kid. Like that was another, like, everyone says dream school, but I think, I had two. And when the opportunity came to play here, it just felt right.
I remember when I talked to you last spring, you actually, there was like 20 inches of snow or something still on the ground. And you actually seemed excited to be back in the cold and snow. You told me your parents thought you were a little crazy coming back here to Minnesota, right?
Yep. Well, I don't know if they thought I was crazy, but they were not happy that they had to travel out here to see me.
They were like, have you looked at Arizona State?
Yep. Which is funny you said that. My roommate went there. So that's funny. But I think they were more upset that they had to come, instead of a car ride now, they're a plane ride away and the cold. So
they don't even get to go anywhere. They're not skiers, huh?
No, my mom used to be.
Okay.
A couple knee injuries from skiing. So that quick stop to that one.
What was it about your personal development that you wanted to address in your 5th year of college hockey? Yeah.
So I think just like the more of like the battle side of hockey, like, look at the Big Ten. It's a lot of skill first, second, third round picks that can put up points and score numbers. And, I was in a fantastic role at Penn State. Like I was put in a spot to succeed and put up points, and I was able to do that a little bit my senior year, but, I know the kind of player I am, and I knew the way Coach Sandelin played, and that defensive, systematic just style of hockey where you're going to grind down the other opponent and outwork them. And I felt that I was missing that from my game. And, so I thought, if I came here to UMD, like that's something that I could really work on. And boy, has he ever, been hard on us about that. And it's everything that I expected and more. And, I just, while the offense kind of gets taken away a little in a different league and adjusting and all that, at the same time, you really work on other facets of your game that you forget are that important as well for the next level. So is that a tough thing to ask as a
college senior at the time, or just graduated, when you're talking to a guy like Scott Sandlin, who has a reputation for being, I think, a fair but a very tough coach at times to play for it. And you're looking at him, having not played for him for 4 years, and saying, can you make me tougher? Can you make me grittier? And knowing what's going to come of that. I mean, is that a tough thing to sign up for?
Yeah. I don't know if those words directly came out, but I think they were read in between the lines. And I mean, I knew him from a long time ago. Obviously, I never knew what it was like to play for him. I quickly found that out. But yeah, like I think as a hockey player, you need thick skin, and he doesn't get on you because he wants to, or that's just the kind of guy he is. He cares, and I think that's like the coolest thing about him is once you finally understand that, and hopefully everyone does it quickly, that he's not making it personal. He's not coming at you. He cares about you. He wants to push you. He wants to push your buttons and make you better.
You kind of mentioned Big Ten versus NCHC a little bit. I know you're only 2 series in North Dakota and St. Cloud, but I feel like those might be 2 good teams it's safe to ask this question after those taking out those 2 teams. What are the biggest differences you notice of playing in the Big Ten versus playing in the NCHC?
Yeah, I think it's similar to what I just said. Like, felt in the Big Ten like it was like a lot of skill. Not saying there's not in the NCHC. There's plenty.
It's a different type of skill, you'd say, right?
It's a lot of just like almost like high scoring, like less defense, more offense is what I describe it as. Whereas like here in the NCHC, like you have guys teams blocking 35 shots a game, and just going all out on defense. Every time you touch the puck, you're getting hit. Whereas I think in the Big Ten, you didn't necessarily have more time, but you had that. You knew you could make a play, and the hits might have been, a little bit less occurring. But here, like I said, it's just everyone out there they fly around the hit. Their first line is going to grind you down, whereas in the Big Ten, their first line is going to go out and score. Like that, but they're not gonna grind you down, so to speak, as first line here, where they're gonna hit you and do all that. So I think there's just like little differences like that, and definitely the play style, very defensive in the NCHC compared to just offensive in the Big Ten.
How do you convince yourself that style of play is fun and should be something that you chase, right? Because some of the most successful players at UMD, Nick Wolf, it comes to mind. He wasn't happy if he didn't come out of a game with a new bruise or a new black eye. It felt like he just thought that style of play was fun, and he found his place at UMD. How do you convince yourself that that's what you should be chasing every Friday, Saturday night?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's just the type of player that you are. So for me, being that high skilled, I'm not a high draft, I never was drafted. If I'm going to go play at the next level, that's not what I'm going to be, right? Like if I play at the next level, I'm going to be that 3rd, 4th line guy that goes in, makes a hit on the forecheck, gets a puck, fights at the net, blocks shots, gets pucks out defensively. So if you want to make a living on that, you have to learn to love that. And so, that's another reason I wanted to come here. Like I think that's where Coach Stanley can really help me develop my game. And I love scoring goals. I think that's the key of the game to win. But so is being up a goal and blocking a shot 6-on-5 with an empty net. Like I think that's so cool too.
Connor, you're talking about making this transition from the Big Ten. I think we'll use Finesse League maybe for that league. NCHC, more of a gritty league. And I don't know, when I watch the NCHC, it does remind me a little more of the NHL, where there's probably a blending maybe of what the Big Ten has and what the NCHC has. You're making this transition, though, to a tough, physical, gritty league like the NCHC, skilled league like the NCHC, after playing 4 years of college. Can you imagine what it would have been like going from juniors or from the National Team Development Program, or even we've seen guys make the jump from high school and club to college as 18-year-olds. How hard of a transition can that be for some of the younger guys?
Yeah, obviously there's a huge learning curve. like you said, you go from being 18, 19 years old, now you're playing with guys like myself who are 24. So it's a bit of a jump. But I think, if they're ready to come in and the coaching staff feels they're ready, it's nothing that they can't handle. Everyone's going to have a learning curve when they get into college. Every single person, unless you're, Dylan Larkin and Michigan, right? Like those guys, Kyle Connor, like those guys, they're a different breed, but everyone has a learning curve. And, I think it's those first couple weeks, and it's the onus of the older guys to really make them feel comfortable and bring them in and make that transition easier for them.
How does the USHL, how would you describe that style of play? I'm kind of curious that's where UMD gets a lot of guys from, whether they play 2-3 years in there, or at least maybe do a year in the USHL before coming. How big of a jump in physicality and grit is that from the USHL, would you say, to the NCHC?
I wouldn't say it's so different. I think the USHL does a really good job of developing players. I was fortunate to play there for 3 years. So, I loved my time in juniors and played with a lot of good players. And I think that the more that league gains notoriety, the more, the easier it'll become for guys to transition into college, because you have such high level talent playing there. All those first, second rounders, they go play in the USHL, or obviously a lot come from the development team program, but I think it'll, in turn make that transition easier into college.
You mentioned the onus is a bit on the older players, the players with more experience, whether it's in the NCHC or the Big Ten, to kind of pull some of the younger guys along, especially earlier in the season. You're among that experienced group, but this is your first year at UMD. And as Matt said, 5 games into the year, things changed a little bit when Dominic James got hurt. Yep. The team elected to give you an alternate captain, put a letter on your chest. So how has that leadership role been for you in a situation where you're still doing some learning? You're trying to help other guys become comfortable when you might not be 100% comfortable in the situation you're in going forward here at UMD.
Yeah, it's, obviously didn't expect it. But I think that's also, I talked to Coach Sandlin too, that's a bit of what I was brought in here to do as well. I have 4 years experience, we have 3 other fifth years. So, they're the only guys with 4 other years of experience as well. So it's kind of a unique situation. So I knew I was brought in to help lead it and share some experience. And, when Dom goes down, that stinks, right? You miss a guy like that on the ice, offensive, can skate like the wind, good in the locker room, brings jokes every day. You miss that guy. And, just was honored to have been given a letter, and big shoes to fill. But it's nothing I haven't been through before. And, it's no matter if it's my first year, my 5th year at UMD, it's still my job to, it's their freshman's first year too, but I've had 4 years experience. So it's my job to help bring them up to speed and know what to expect. And when they're going through highs and lows of their, first year, that's where I can be there to help manage their expectations or emotions or whatever it may be. If, they're struggling, they need help, they're doing great, and they need to be brought down a little bit. That's what we're here for. So
is that overblown by people like Matt and myself, whose job it is to tell the stories of the team? But something like that happens, you lose Dom for the year, the new guy, Connor McMenamin, steps in and all of a sudden is one of the captaincy group. Are stories like that overblown? Is hockey just hockey at that point? Where, yes, this is a new group of guys to you in the locker room, a new system, but at that point, was it a big deal to you and to guys in the room?
I don't know if I can speak for other guys in the room. I don't know how they felt about it, but I don't think it was a huge deal for me. Obviously I was very thankful and honored, like I said, but I wasn't, whether I have a letter on my chest or not, it doesn't change the way I play and or doesn't change what I try to bring in the locker room. Yeah, maybe other guys felt differently about it, but it just doesn't change anything that I come to do.
All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have more with Connor. You're listening to the Bulldog Insider Podcast, brought to you by Essentia Health.
Greetings from Northlandia, a place to bring your curiosity, because here you will find curiosities. Whether it's a look inside the Northern Rail Train Car Inn or an introduction to Duluth's musical roboticist, Robot Rickshaw, we celebrate the region's distinctive people, places, and history. Each week, I'm joined by my fellow reporters who share the unique and fascinating stories that they discover while exploring the Northland. You can find new episodes of the Northlandia podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Join us along this journey and discover the extraordinary stories that you just might miss if you're not in the right place at the right time, ready to step off the beaten path with no rush to return, here in Northlandia.
Hi, I'm Maria Lockwood, a reporter with the Superior Telegram. Explore Superior and Douglas County history with me on Archive Dive, a monthly podcast available at superiortelegram.com or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome back to the Bulldog Insider Podcast, brought to you by Essentia Health, Orthopedics, and Sports Medicine. They're proud to be the team physicians for the UMD Bulldogs and provide sports medicine care to more than 25,000 student athletes in the community to ensure they can compete at the highest level while protecting their long-term health and athletic futures. Thanks to Essentia Health for their support of the Bulldog Insider Podcast. I'm Matt Wellens, along with my co-host Zach Schneider, and our guest this week, Connor McMenamin. So, Connor, we were talking a little bit about the towns, comparing the towns, State College and Duluth, and the campuses are obviously tough to compare because you're on campus about as much as I'm actually on campus. It's funny. You mentioned like you've only been there a few times.
I don't know if I should have admitted that.
Okay, I'll admit it. I'll make you feel better. This is my 10th season covering UMD hockey. I'm maybe on the actual UMD campus once, twice a year. I made an extra appearance this year because the DNT gave away some free football tickets. So I took my 5-year-old Jack and I went and watched a football game. We caught 3 quarters. I forgot who they were blowing out, but Jack got bored after that. Don't people ask me about things on campus and I have no idea. I know where Romano Gymnasium is. I know where Molosky is. That might be it. I don't know where the bookstore is or anything like that on campus.
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah. So I'm with you. And I've been covering the team for 10 years.
I know where the humanities building is. That's about it.
So you're doing better than I am.
Connor knows where to park and which door to go in.
I'm still not even sure what place I can park and get in trouble and
it changes.
They gave me.
I just find a pay meter.
There's years they give me a parking sticker and I don't even put it on my car because I don't visit campus enough. This year I did put it on there, though I did pay for parking for football because I wasn't actually working that day. So there you go, Forrest Carr. I paid for parking. Made a little contribution.
Nice of you.
Nice of me, yeah. Didn't cheat with the pass. But anyways, the hockey programs, a Big Ten school like Penn State, maybe we'll compare arenas and amenities and stuff like that. We had Luke Bast on a couple weeks ago from North Dakota, and they have so many weird different things in that arena. Did you see that video where they got like red light therapy beds?
Yep.
Anti-gravity, or not anti-gravity, altitude training room. They have that, the anti-gravity beds. That's what I'm thinking. I can't even keep straight the weird stuff. Does Penn State, like a Big Ten school, have any of that stuff? Like, what are some of the resources that were available to you guys there compared to UMD? Like, how comparable is it?
Very, very similar. We didn't have any of the stuff that Bassie was talking about. I think it's just I believe the rinks were built like 1 or 2 years apart, I want to say.
Not there's I believe.
Or am I wrong on that?
Yeah, so
Penn State was 2012.
Well, that's about right.
Oh, that is about right.
Amsoil opened in 2010.
Yeah.
Amsoil opened in 2010. Okay.
Yep.
Pagula opened in 2012.
Yep.
I forget Penn State's been around that long. Okay.
Yeah. It still feels like they're a new program, but nothing crazy different. Our gym is just, where ours here is a little bit wider. There at Penn State, it's longer. We have a 30-yard turf and stuff like that. But as far as amenities, we have a sauna here, a sauna there, cold tubs, hot tubs, training room. It's no different. But yeah, I just say maybe 2 years newer. So,
Is the moniker football school as true as it seems from the outside looking in at a school like Penn State? Is football king there and hockey kind of takes a back seat, or is hockey more popular than maybe it seems?
A little bit of both. Football will always be, I think, that program's, or that school's program, I should say. But as the better we've done as a hockey program, the more traction we've gained across the school. When I first got there, first year, 1920. I believe UMD was also very good that year. They were number 1, I think.
They would have been going for the three-peat at that time.
I believe we were number 3 in the nation. So, that picks up a lot of students, right? Like when you're doing well, everyone in the town and stuff like that, we're getting sold out games. And so that was fun. But yeah, football will always be, you can't, there's 300,000 people in that town when football's playing, and it's nuts. You anywhere within the downtown, you have no cell service, nothing, because there's just so many people. But I think hockey's definitely picking up a lot of traction.
Were you guys you guys must have been chartering as a hockey team?
Yeah,
out of Penn State.
Yep.
Probably more out of necessity than
a lot of
far
trips. But yeah, we chartered everywhere for league play.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering like how comparable, because UMD is basically like, it's a Division II school that plays Division I hockey.
Yep.
But from your perspective, the resources at UMD and Penn State are pretty similar, minus private, a charter plane, which again, if you guys didn't charter a plane, you'd be taking long bus rides to Philly. Is that the closest major airport? Or there is one.
Philly or Pittsburgh, pick your poison. They're same distance each side.
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to go to class that way either. But he'd have more on-campus stuff if you had to leave on a Tuesday to get somewhere by Friday.
Yep.
So.
Let's do some quick hits here to close it off. I just floors me that North Dakota has anti-gravity beds and not even because Penn State I think is up there in the Big Ten with resource.
They get 3 meals a day too, I believe. So
Penn State gets 3 meals. Oh, Penn State,
North Dakota.
North Dakota gets 3 meals a day.
Yeah, we were one a day.
Well, there's not exactly great dining options when the red pepper is your town's. We'll get Cole Spicer on here to defend the red pepper's honor at some point, but. When red peppers your eating options, I guess they do have to cater in some meals and stuff like that.
Catered from the red pepper.
Probably catered from the red pepper. Oof.
Yeah.
Did the football program have any of those crazy things that you're aware of? Or?
Yes, their facility is much, much bigger.
Okay.
They actually, I think they just got their gym redone and it opened up last year because they were, I think, in the Big Ten, the only school to not have their gym redone.
Okay.
So they just got that redone. That's incredible. Their lounge, they have, PlayStations and Pac-Man games and all this stuff, and so they have some cool little things like that. But I don't believe they have anti-gravity beds. I could be wrong. Maybe they got them this year, but yeah, nothing crazy.
All these D1 Power 5 football conferences looking at what North Dakota hockey, and they're getting inspired. They're getting ideas. Some quick hits to close things out. What is one thing you would, if you could, you'd bring from the Penn State campus to UMD?
One thing, maybe the chartered flights. I will say though, there's bus rides with your teammates. I think there's also nothing better than that too. There's nothing else you have to worry about. Food's being taken care of for you. And you just sit there and you're playing cards or watching movies, cracking jokes with everyone. There's nothing better than that.
Are you a plane or a bus guy? Which do you prefer?
If I had to pick, I would pick a plane.
Okay.
But I do not mind a bus at all.
Don't mind the bus trips.
Yeah.
All right. What's one thing you'd like to bring from State College? Anything from State College you really miss that you'd bring to Duluth?
None that I can really think of. We didn't have State College didn't have any really
go-to place. A lot of college town. I seem to remember when I was there. Look at Clinton, Schneider.
It's a lot of
food options.
It's a lot of chain and
college food.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'd.
Yeah. We've had a couple former Miami Redhawks on here, and they've the same thing. There's a couple restaurants that some of us really like when we go to Oxford. For me, it's Bagel and Deli. It's this bagel shop. And they're all kind of I ate that every week for 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah. I guess there's this one restaurant called The Field. It was on a golf course that we used to play quite a bit. They had really good burgers and sandwiches. Maybe that place. I don't know.
Maybe that place. Yeah. Good golf course food. Golf course food is just, I don't know what it is. Sometimes a burger just hits different at the clubhouse. Connor, what was your favorite road trip in the Big Ten?
Oh, probably Michigan.
Michigan?
Just their atmosphere of playing at Yost Arena was something special, and having their student section over your bench, and they used to do a lot of research on any team that plays there. If you look in the student section during warm-ups, you'll see a couple personal things up there, and you're like, well, I don't know how they got that, but the internet's a scary place.
How much can you hear or see? Is it mainly just during warm-ups that you notice that stuff, or is it like TV timeouts? Sometimes they'll get under
everything.
your skin.
My freshman year, actually, we won, I believe, for the first time there at Yost, or maybe the second time. But we were up like 4-3 or 5-4, whatever the score was. And they took a timeout, and our coach brought us in to, go over the game plan, 6-on-5. They're going to pull their goalie, yada, yada. And you could not. He was me to you away, and he was screaming at us, and you couldn't hear him. Like they're that loud over the bench. It was crazy.
Yost is a barn. Like it's an old
it's
barn.
all metal. It echoes.
Metal echoes, right? Yeah. For people, the best description I think that would come close maybe would be Hibbings.
Yep.
Hibbings Memorial Arena kind of has that Yost feel.
You just put the bleachers on the end of Hibbing, and
everything's just echoing off of metal, brick, and wood there. So we've had Luke Bast on the podcast here, Reese Hunt, other transfers. They got to face their former team this season. Penn State not on the regular season schedule. Would you or would you not want to take on the Nittany Lions in the postseason? Is that a matchup? Are you like disappointed you're not seeing your former team during the regular season? Would you be up for facing them? Glad you don't have to think about it?
A little bit of both. Glad I don't have to think about it, but I think if we played in the postseason, that would be pretty cool.
Which league has better referees, the Big Ten or the NCHC?
I don't even know if I want to comment on it, but hopefully they don't listen to this podcast. Move. Yeah, it's just they're both okay.
They're both okay.
I'll leave it at that.
Both okay.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
After the season ends, we'll have you back on.
Yeah, well,
I was going to say they don't play any Big Ten teams, but could see a Big Ten referee include.
Right, watch them go on a heater in the second half, and they end up with a Big Ten.
Oh, it might be Big Ten. It might be Big
Ten
refs at the Milwaukee at the tournament in Milwaukee. Maybe, since Wisconsin's hosting that there. A lot of the Big Ten always gives me the old part of it because of their director of officiating, Steve Petrowski, but that's the old school CCHA vibes a little bit over there, which the NCHC has too. I actually think both leagues are kind of similar in a way, but. Movember is finally coming to an end. First off, are you happy to shave?
Yes.
You're one of the guys that's like happy this month is coming to an end that you get to shave, huh?
Yeah, I cannot wait to get this off my face. I usually like having somewhat of a goatee or a beard, but just a month. I even started to let it go. I stopped shaving just because it was tiring to keep the mustache in shape, so I just let it go.
Who's probably like the most disappointed that they have to shave their mustache, you think?
Maybe Luke Lowhite, I'd say.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to.
Yeah, he probably won't.
It's not a requirement, right?
He probably won't. He actually asked me the other day if I was going to get rid of mine, and I told him, So
he's trying to like get other guys in the locker room right now.
Keep that thing going through spring, Luke.
Yeah, Quinn Olson always has one. He won't get rid of his, so
who knows? It took Quinny 4 years to grow that thing. So, again, Quinny's getting the award for most improved on Movember mustaches here. Who had the best mustache, you think, this month?
Probably Lowhite.
Luke Lowhite?
Yeah, I think he can probably grow one the best. So,
who is the most improved that started with like nothing at the beginning of the month and got a good effort by the end here? Because a few guys started clean shaven.
Yeah, I did not. I want to say Basti. I think he started clean shaven. He's got a pretty good one going right now.
Pretty good one there. Is Matthew Teason the worst stuff? Did anything ever pop for? We asked him. I think he said that he couldn't grow them. He was going to try.
Yeah,
but
there's a few guys.
There's a few guys that appreciate the effort.
Yeah, Steve-O tried. Perkins, Tease. Yeah, a couple guys that tried.
Last question. We like to ask this to guys that have been through the transfer portal. I should say players who've been through the transfer portal, because as you said, it's not an easy process. I think people sometimes think it's like free agency, that players are just hopping in there and looking to get paid and find a better team or something like that. But what advice would you give a prospective student athlete, maybe in any sport, about going through the transfer portal process?
I would say just do your research. Like, be sure of where you want to go, and hear everyone out, hear what they have to say, and ask questions. Like, I think that's very important, because you can't just go somewhere where, either you're not familiar with or you don't know what you're walking into. Like, I think so just to do your research, ask questions especially when you're talking to these coaches, and just be sure of yourself.
Can you compare it quickly to when you were recruited before you entered college, before you went to Penn State, to when you were in the transfer portal? Was the transfer portal easier, harder, about the same?
Way harder. I think you have a shorter time frame, obviously, to pick a place. And there's a lot, after playing for 4 years and showing, what kind of player I was, there's a lot more interest in the transfer portal than there was going into college. So a lot more stressful, but, fun at the same time.
That's all the time we have. Connor, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast this week.
Thank you for having me.
You can find the Bulldog Insider Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe and rate us. For more Bulldogs hockey coverage, visit DuluthNewsTribune.com/Bulldog Insider. Subscribe to gain access to all of our coverage all season long. Zach, what does the My9 TV coverage look like? Women are on the road for the rest of 2023 at Wisconsin and at St. Cloud State. But we got men home against Omaha, and then a trip to lovely Oxford, Ohio to play Miami.
Yep, and we won't have any of those road games for the men or the women. So all we've got left in our calendar year is these two games this weekend against Omaha, 7 o'clock on Friday, and then a 5 o'clock start on Saturday, just for fun for mainly Matt and I to make sure that we can get to the rink on time. 5 o'clock start on Saturday, and I've set my alarm already.
Did you know it was a 5 o'clock start on?
Did not.
Nope. Okay. Luke Bass a couple weeks ago wasn't aware that it was a 6 o'clock
More
start.
important that you're to the rink on time. So spread the word in the locker room.
Yeah. 5 o'clock start, which anyone that's complaining about it, just think of this. It gives you a chance to get a jump on the Bentleyville traffic.
I think that's why they did it.
I think that's why there's a 5 o'clock
Probably.
Start, because there's a Duluth Winter Village. So
was it 2 or 3 years ago that we had North Dakota in town while Bentleyville was here, and it was 2 7 o'clock starts? That was the worst traffic I've ever experienced in Duluth, and that includes all the can of worms construction. It was really, really bad.
Yeah, it was off. I think there was a ballet.
I don't mind it. I just have to remember.
Yeah. I remember that. It's there.
So come down to downtown Duluth, find a parking spot early. They're going to be tough to find. Thanks to our sponsor, Essentia Health, for their continued support of the Bulldog Insider Podcast, and thanks to all of you for listening. We will catch you next week.